Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick review on the Alloyworks radiator for the Jeep Cherokee XJs. You can see this one with the 3 electric fans on it. I didn't see much videos about it online. I saw one video of a guy installing this in a Cherokee, and I still have a couple of questions on it, and his was not a Renix engine like this one is. So this is not a high output, this is an 88. So things are a little bit different about the cooling system. If you know that, it has the bottle up here. That's part of a closed cooling system, and this has a radiator cap, so it converts it to an open cooling system. So I just finished installing it. I bled the system, drove it a little bit, and just wanted to go over what I specifically did on mine so that you could maybe get some information out of it if you're looking to do something like this as well. So everything on the engine is pretty stock. I do have newer injectors on it, but the airbox is stock. All the pulleys and everything were stock, and the cooling system was completely stock. It was just overheating all the time. I did put in a high performance radiator from Summit, or not radiator, excuse me, a coolant pump from Summit Racing, and that has been good. It's supposed to have higher flow, and it has been working well since I put it in about a year ago, but the Jeep was overheating. The fans were not kicking on when they were supposed to with the old radiator, so I decided to get this nice newer radiator and see how this worked. So it does fit in there pretty well up against the AC condenser. It does have connections for the transmission cooler in here, so that one fits. And then this one, since it is a pre-91, it's not a high output, the lower hose down here is just a hose clamp. It doesn't have a special fitting like one of the fuel lines. So that was really easy to get that in. This pulley for the clutch fan, you can see I just used new bolts. I got 5/16 24 was the thread pitch on the bolts, and I got them in a 1/2 inch length, and it worked out perfectly. So the clearance between this pulley and the fan is always very small, but with these bolts it fits perfectly and it doesn't hit anything. And as for the wiring on the fans, this was a big thing. There are no instructions with the kit, obviously. So they come with a certain kind of connector that doesn't have any pins on the female side. So you're supposed to put little spade connectors in there. But what I did was I cut off those connectors and put in these factory style ones because I had a bag of these laying around. So I connected each of these to each of the fans, kind of tied them up a little bit, not completely done yet, but ran wires positive and negative to each of the fans. And then for my switch, since this is a Renix, it doesn't have the sensor right here. It does provide you with a sensor. This is the sensor that is provided in the kit. Ideally, I think in their minds, that's where it would go, right here on the Renix engines, or not the Renix, excuse me, the high output engines, the 91 and up. But from what I've seen, the sensor actually doesn't even fit into this hole. It bottoms out before it can even be screwed in. So this is kind of useless in my opinion. I did have an extra one of the stock fan switches for these down here, the ones that wire up into the car itself. So I just used that, put it into the stock connector for the sensor or the switch down here. And then since I had these wires run with these classic style connectors, I just ran what would go into the stock fan into some wires, created a harness. So there's one wire going over here, and then it branches off in here. So one power wire comes in. You can see that's that one, comes in, and then there's a connector in there where 2 wires come out this way to go to each of these, and 1 wire comes back out here to go to this fan. And I did the same thing with the grounds. And everything has been working perfectly so far. I have not driven it that much, but the fans have been kicking on and it has not been overheating. I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't know exactly if the power rating of this wire is good enough to run all 3 of these fans, or if I'm gonna, short something out, blow something up. But I know that this relay up here is working, and it is turning the fans on when the switch down here gets closed. So that's all working fine. So that's the electrical pretty much covered. You just kind of have to figure out how to wire these up. Blue is the positive, black negative, obviously. And if you have this style connector with the stock single fan on this side and the clutch fan over here, you can just connect it up here. Obviously do your own research. Don't listen to me You can use this as maybe a switch to go to a different relay that has a set dedicated power source, but I'm lazy and just decided to do it this way and risk it. Looking at the coolant hoses right here for the heater. So usually you got your bottle over here, you got a little T-junction down here with the heater valve and everything going in that bottle. So these are kind of annoying because this is a 3/4 inch pipe, this top one right here, that goes into the bottom of the heater core right there as a 5/8. So you have to do an adapter from a 3/4 to a 5/8 hose size. And then same thing up here. This is a 3/4 inch. And then this one, you have to do a 3/4 down to a 5/8 because where it goes down here, this pipe is a 5/8. So they didn't make it very easy for you. This is the correct way to do it because this is the hot side. So this is the side that's always going to be spitting coolant in, and it flows in that direction. That will keep the air out. If you wire it up back or plumb it up backwards, then you can get air stuck in the heater core and it can cause you some problems. So I wouldn't recommend doing it like that. I'd recommend just going to AutoZone or O'Reilly's, getting some of these adapters. They had them in stock at my local one, and they were really easy to install, and I used all the factory hose clamps that were in that T-junction and everything. So I didn't even have to buy any new hose clamps. For the radiator overflow, I bought this little tank off of the Alloyworks website. It's pretty high quality, actually. It's got a little level on the side that you can see how full it is. It has 2 connections. Just got to get a cap to cover this one up, or a plug that screws in. There are different places you can plug it in. So there's 2 right here. You can switch the level to this side if you want. There's plugs on each side, and then there is a screw on the bottom that you can undo to drain all the coolant out. So I just found that putting it right here next to the air box is actually the best place for it. I was thinking about trying to mount it over there on the firewall above the blower motor where the factory one went. But then I need a lot more hose than what I had bought, and I realized that there was just enough of a gap right here between the airbox and the fender to just plop it in there. So I got a couple of the self-tappers. There was the ballast resistor was right here, as was the EGR solenoid. So I moved both of those. EGR solenoid was right here, and then the ballast resistor was right there. I re-tapped a new self-tapper in for the ballast resistor down there, and then there's a couple of grounds right here that I just tacked the EGR solenoid onto. So those are both working fine. And then I just popped this right here. It's super close to the radiator cap. Just plumbed it in right there so that it's not really in the way of anything. The line's not kinked. Everything with that is working well. I also did see in the other video that I watched about the Alloyworks, the only one that I could find, when he was replacing the radiator, he took the entire front fascia off the vehicle, and this is not really necessary. It's just a couple of bolts right here. You have to take off this front facing piece right here, the support bracket for the front of the car. So you got to do all these 10 millimeters, and then these are T30s, and these 2 are T27s right here. So you'll need all those out. And then the 10 millimeters, there's going to be a couple of supports for the fan shroud right here and right there for the electric one. And then there will probably be a little self-tapping screw in the very bottom that holds up one of the power steering lines onto the bottom of that bracket. So you take all those out and then pop this centerpiece out after this is removed, and it's perfectly easy access. You take off this upper radiator hose, you take off that lower radiator hose, and then disconnect the switch down here with the airbox out. It's very easy to see, the wiring is just right down there. And then you just disconnect the transmission cooler lines. This one I believe is a 19 millimeter. So you'll need a 19 millimeter wrench on that one, or an adjustable wrench if you don't have one. And then the bottom one is either a flathead or a 6 millimeter for the hose clamp on the lower line. So yeah, it's pretty easy to take the whole thing out. So I hope this video was useful to at least someone who is thinking about putting this Alloyworks radiator in their car. My car's been overheating for a couple of years, and I've been chasing down every single problem except for the radiator. I just put this in and idled it for 30 minutes, and it didn't go above 210 on the dash. So this has finally fixed the issues that I've been having. I highly recommend the radiator. It does seem like a very good quality product. It fits in. It's a little tight to fit in. Sometimes this piece does not really want to go in. The little pieces that go on the support bracket right here that keeps it centered, Those can be kind of tough to get on, but overall it is a high quality piece. It seems like the welds all look good and the fans all work. There's just no instructions for it, so hopefully this helps someone out. I highly recommend it, and thank you for watching.